Nun haben wir den Salat, and welcome to Shift+F1, a podcast about speedy race cars. That, by the way, is a Austrian German expression for now we have the salad.
Oh, thank God. I've been waiting for it. Do we have the dressing, Drew?
That's a different expression. Now we have the salad means roughly now it's a mess. And I'm not sure what else I would call inviting someone back to Formula One after they were banned for life. But a mess might be apropos. I'm Drew Scanlon. Joining me is Danny O'Dwyer. How are you, Danny?
Salut, Drew. I'm great. Thanks for holding down the fort last week. I have cycled in for Rob this week. He is in parts unknown working on secret work, I'm sure. I was great to listen to the podcast last week. I was driving up I listened on the way home from France. I was in Ireland for a few days, and then I went to the Dordogne, like the southwest of France. I think that's how you pronounce it. But I drove home on the way to the airport. I drove for like 5 hours up to Paris, up to Orly Airport, and then flew home. And on the way, I wish I had like an extra 2 hours, but I was on the road. What did I pass but a turn off to Le Mans? And I was like, oh wow, man, it's like right there. It's like right there. And it was like a week after, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was exactly.
Stuff probably would still have been set up.
Right. I think it was exactly 7 days after Le Mans was on. So yes, unfortunately I did not get to see it, but yeah, it was great to listen to the podcast and get up to speed on what's going on at Renault. And turns out there's more to talk about with regard to Renault. They're full of it. They just love hitting the headlines.
They sure do. If you're new to this podcast, a very warm welcome. And if you're new to Formula One itself, we recommend listening to our preseason primer episode, which assumes no prior F1 knowledge and explains how the sport works and who everybody is. So if you'd like to go back and listen to that, it's episode 257. We also have a link in the show notes to that episode. And I've now updated the Spotify trailer section.
What was it before?
Last year's primer.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Wasn't that bad. But so now that landing page now has a link directly to the primer.
Excellent.
But the show would not be possible without our audience over at patreon.com/shiftf1, where every month we release an ad-free version of the podcast along with bonus podcasts and videos exclusively for our patrons that cover racing documentaries and films, F1 video games, experiments with other racing series, and a lot of weird things. So if you would like to support the show and get access to all that fun stuff, head over to patreon.com/shiftf1 or click the link in the show notes. What's going on this month, Danny?
This month we're going to do a podcast about how to spot a reptilian shapeshifter. Sorry.
I'm not watching that.
I couldn't help myself. No. Sorry if you don't know, there was news over the weekend of just, the latest episode of Danica Patrick's podcast is really getting into the meat and drink of important motorsport questions. No, we're not going to talk about that or how the moon landing.
I don't even want to link to that in the show notes. Just Google that, just YouTube that phrase if you really want to watch.
Yes.
If you really want to rot your brain.
If you really want to see just how healthy you are. Like that's as a sort of benchmark. It's like the what's the test?
They don't even pay me to be on TV, Danny.
Right. That's a shame. They should. They do when the meme comes up, surely. Maybe?
Yeah, that may be past.
Who knows?
The time that may be. I'm not so sure it's such a hot commodity these days.
You give all that to research for MS anyway. That's your
when I ride bicycles,
exactly.
I certainly do, yeah.
You ride bicycles. We're not here to talk about bicycles. We're here to talk about patronage. We are not going to talk about reptilian shapeshifters. Instead, we're going to talk about Overtake, another fantastic anime about motorsport. We'll be checking that one out. Recording it tomorrow, I believe, so it'll be up later this week. And a massive thanks to all of our incredible title sponsors. Get Richer, Di Ryan, Agave ATX, Cyphus Training, Turf SCS, at Team Blackjack, Michael Maves, Gordy's Army, at Talking Autos, Olivia Evans. TelemetryDeck.com was in Barcelona. Oh. Well. FTC, Drew Stewart, Bailey Foote, Abdallah Althani, Jason Chadwick. Abraham, the delivery of my name was a little flat the last episode. Getchell. Oh.
Wow.
Shots fired, Drew.
Yeah.
Abraham likes he likes the
He'll be
dulcet
back
tones.
to your regularly scheduled Patreon reader.
The Space
here.
Above Us podcast. Bunny Fiend, Snigs, Alex Couchet, Max Voltaire, Circuit Demon, Troy Stammer, William Romph, Irvine Clinical Research, Lachlan the Maddened Man. Lachlan the Maddened Man always makes me think about Elden Ring. It just sounds like a boss. It sounds like,
Wow. Yeah.
Lachlan the Madden Man. Like a big health bar comes up and and then I stop playing because I can't ever beat the bosses. Samurai Love Story, and of course, Jason Kelly, thank you all so much for your incredible patronage. Yeah. What are we talking about? Danica Patrick podcast? No. We've two races to talk about this week, Drew.
Yeah, we got a stacked episode, so let's jump right into it. Beginning with the race that happened, Spain.
Spain.
Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
Or is it Catalonia? Good point. Should we call it Spain?
Oh, right.
Should it get independence? Let's talk about that right now.
I don't think. Yeah, we should talk about that. But yeah, the grid, Danny. We can talk about that. Lando Norris, his second career pole position in Formula One. Max Verstappen, just shy of, what is this? Exactly
200?
200ths.
Was it 200ths? Oh, wow.
200ths behind him. He even got a tow from Sergio Perez.
Yes.
But could not catch Lando Norris.
No, and in recent races, Max had a wobble maybe on one corner, or he had a lap deleted on another one. This was, pure merit. Like they were fighting toe to toe, and Lando got out on top. It was a very dramatic qualifying. Actually, I really enjoyed quali.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton will line up in third place. George Russell, the other Mercedes, locking out row 2. Charles Leclerc starts 5th. A weird moment in free practice 3. I don't know if you saw this, Danny, where he and Norris touched tires.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Same with Stroll and Hamilton. They both received reprimands that don't do anything until you accumulate a lot of them. But yeah, just strange. Just keep your distance, folks. Formula One drivers may bite. His teammate lines up next to him in 6th, Carlos Sainz. Then we've got the Alpine row of Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, both Alpines getting into Q3. And then the other McLaren of Oscar Piastri. No time set in Q3 after a trip into the gravel. And then the last of the top 10, Fernando Alonso will start 10th. Although Sergio Perez in 11th did qualify 8th, but got a 3-place penalty for the previous race, failing to leave the track with serious mechanical difficulties.
Yes, this was
his rear wing hanging off.
Yeah, in Canada, where we figured he was doing it because the safety car would have not benefited Max.
Right. 12th place, Valtteri Bottas, then Nico Hülkenberg, Lance Stroll, Zhou Guanyu, both Saubers getting into Q2. Kevin Magnussen in 16th, then Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel Ricciardo. The RB upgrade did not really materialize, but apparently they're not reverting. They say they've seen some improvement, but it's it didn't show at the place where all the testing happens.
Yeah,
so
that's why they like Spain,
great sign,
because it's kind of like it's kind of got everything. It's got the slow speed, high speed.
Oh, did you listen to Shift+F1?
Oh, I did. You're right.
Track walk about.
You guys were talking. I was literally, I burst out laughing in the terminal when Rob told the story of why am I blanking on the Williams?
James Fowles.
When James Fowles turned into the
chicane.
The chicane.
It's so good.
That is fantastic. I have to watch that video. It's great.
Yeah, I linked it in the last episode's show notes. It's pretty good. But the back row, Logan Sargent and then Alex Albon. Logan Sargent qualified 20th. Alex Albon qualified 19th, but is required to start from the pit lane after some modifications under Parc Fermé. And that's the grid. Danny, do you want to take us through the start here?
Yeah, fairly incident heavy start. No crashes, but lots of very interesting jockeying for position here on these first 2 turns. So our 2 boys in front, let's talk about them first of all. Lando and Max both have good starts. Lando, I would say Max has a slightly better start, and obviously he's got that inside line a little bit, so he gets up the inside. Lando kind of squeezes him out a little bit. There's a kick of dirt. He's on the edge there. And then he gives him a bit more space. But as the two of them are breaking down into that first right-hander on turn one, we direct our eyes to what happens to the second row. When they started, George Russell had a good start. Hamilton did not have a good start. He slipped back at one stage to 6th position behind the two Ferraris who were on road 3. Russell, though, while this little battle is happening in front of him, like really eye of the needle manages to get his car. Man. Like I haven't seen I did see the onboard, but the helicopter shot that they showed first was like, like if that's one of those when you see somebody do it on the highway, you're like, man, they must be in a rush. They're changing lanes and trying to eke around people. So as they get down to turn one, he's basically sort of like pulled out to the outside of the turn and swoops around both of them into turn one. This creates a sort of a mini concertina as Max does get ahead of Lando. Carlos Sainz, I think it is, has managed to... Actually, I'm not sure which one of the Ferraris it is, actually, but I think it was Sainz. Manages to... Is behind Lando in 3rd at this point. Hamilton is kind of like slightly behind him in 5th. He's managed to get one of the positions back, and but the braking of Lando forces the Ferrari to slow down a little bit, and Hamilton manages to regain that place back, and he's in 4th by the time they get around.
Okay, I think it's Leclerc because that's who George Russell threaded the needle with. Okay, like when he swooped out from behind Lando, he cut in front of Leclerc, and it looked like there was no room between them. From every angle, it looks like you can't tell how far apart it is.
Yeah, could fit a wafer thin mint between the two of them. So scratch signs. It was Leclerc, and I think Hamilton's a great start for Russell, really impressive. Good start from Verstappen as well. Obviously, Lando Norris will not be very happy, and I think Hamilton might be relieved because at one stage it looked like it was a worse start than it could have been. He would have been in a fantastic position. Like that was the side that Hamilton was on. So if Hamilton had a good start, he would have had an easier overtake on both of them. He expressed some sentiments similar to that after the race as well.
Yeah, one of the better moves I think I've seen George Russell make, and certainly exciting, although it, of course, does not last very long. Lap 3, Verstappen gets a run on Russell with DRS. Russell defends to the inside, forcing Verstappen the long way around. They pull even as they take the right-hander of turn 1, but turn 2 is to the left, so Verstappen has the inside line and pulls ahead to take the lead.
I'm not sure about this defensive move from Russell. He really makes his one movement to the inside quite late, quite early actually, I would say, on this turn, and he sort of gets out of Verstappen's way. You know what I mean? There was a similar move that happened in Canada actually right before the Wall of Champions. I forget who did it. Was it Ricard? No, I forget who it was. It was with Norris, I think, where they defended the inside and basically just opened the gate for somebody to go around the outside. So I didn't think that was the best defensive move, but look, he knows he's getting overtaken. The Mercedes is in a better spot than it was a couple of races ago, but it's not going to be able to compete, I feel like, with Red Bull and the tires in that window. That was the window, though. There's 2 or 3 laps there where they really have the pace, and Verstappen was saying as much that they really needed to get it done then.
Yes, and it's around the same time that Sainz, who's running in 6th, attempts the same thing on his teammate Leclerc, who does not leave any space for him on the outside of turn 1, and they do make contact, Sainz taking the escape road as a result. The stewards, though, ruled no further investigation, and Sainz does get to keep that place.
Was it because there seemed to be contact between Leclerc? Yeah. So then it's not exactly like if Sainz tries to go around the outside and he can't hang it out there, and then the overtake is done that way. But if he's tapped, it's a different story. So I think if Leclerc doesn't touch
crash,
yeah, basically he's got no choice. Leclerc was pretty tight into that corner. It was a cheeky overtake by Sainz. He kind of created the contact in a way. It was an aggressive overtake. Let's put it that way.
A couple of them in this race involving Carlos Sainz. Lap 16, Russell comes in for a pit stop, but it is slow, 5.3 seconds, rear right, just not going on. And he nearly loses a place to Sainz in the pit lane. who makes a stop at the same time and does a 2.2 second stop. Norris, his engineer then tells him that it's possible that they could pit and jump Russell, but then asks him what he thinks, and Norris says, no, I think we need to go and get Max. So this was a pivotal moment in the strategy of this race. I love the call because he's not doing the safe thing and securing second place. He's thinking about what he needs to do to win. And I wonder if that is some confidence gained by the gains of the car recently, because Max Verstappen has said, like, the run that they have had, I mean, you know, take this with a grain of salt, but the Red Bull run is at an end because McLaren's car is so good.
Yeah.
As it turns out, though, what Norris and the team decide is that he, in order to go for the win, needs to go much longer on the soft tire in the first stint than Verstappen, hopefully doing good lap times in clear air as much as possible, so that when the end of the race comes, the difference in tire life between him and Verstappen, the so-called tire delta, will mean that Norris's newer tires will equate to faster lap times, and then he'll be able to overtake Verstappen on the track.
Yeah, I feel like Norris at this stage knows, or at least is feeling inside of himself, that he's in a championship winning car in a year where they might be able to pull it off. And Red Bull have created a sort of a buffer, and it's insane to think this, because the way we were talking about this season but a month ago, but you have to imagine.
And I still don't really.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I
We'll have to see. I think maybe the next couple of races we have sort of might help Red Bull more than anyone else. But yeah, I think you have to have that mentality, especially when the alternative is you're fighting the Mercedes. Like, no, they're not. They were never fighting the Mercedes this year, and the Ferraris were sort of seemed a bit out at sea in this race. It didn't seem like they were going to be able to close up the gap. Even at this stage, it seemed like they were, you know, sitting pretty in fourth, fifth, sixth kind of region come the end of this race.
Yeah, I'll be more excited, I think, when I see this performance repeated a few times, because, like you said, there is such a margin right now between Red Bull and the rest of the field that even moments like this, well, you think, okay, it's still a long way to go to catch him, but it's fun to see. Hamilton, who was running ahead of Sainz, pitted one lap after Sainz and came out behind him, perhaps owing to the undercut. But by lap 19, Hamilton has closed up to Sainz and makes a move with DRS into turn one. Sainz covers the inside, but Hamilton goes even further inside. Then the two go side by side into turn one. Hamilton makes contact with Sainz, who loses momentum through turn two. He doesn't take the escape road this time, but this allows Hamilton to sweep around the outside and take the place.
Yeah.
Sainz, during the race, was pretty upset about this. He said over the radio something like, why is there a rule book if we don't follow it? But the stewards took no further action. However, after the race, and let me pull up his actual quote here, but the long and the short of it is, like, his point is, if you follow the rule book as it's written exactly, then I don't think it was legal. But if you ask me as a racer, I think it was a tough move. So he's saying, I wouldn't expect that to be legal, but I think it should be, which is an interesting point to take.
Yeah, I think as aggressive as Hamilton was there, Carlos was as aggressive with his teammate Charles Leclerc. So I don't see anything wrong.
It also kind of sounds like something that a driver might say when another driver got the best of him. You know, when he was overtaken.
And, like, I really like Carlos Sainz. I think he's a great personality. I think he's a great driver. He does have this in him. He does complain a lot. I think usually it's off the back of good performances, so it doesn't quite come across as sort of as whiny as other people, or maybe it's just simply his delivery. I don't know. But I this is something I feel fairly like is normal for him, that he does kind of complain. He complains on the radio a decent amount, and he complains after races too.
Everybody does, but yeah, I know what you mean. So lap 24 then is when Norris finally does come off his soft tires. So his medium tires that he puts on are now 6 laps newer than Verstappen's. The only other driver who goes longer on the first stint than Norris is Leclerc, who testily asks his engineer, "Why are we on plan A?"
Yeah. He probably didn't know what everyone else was doing, it sounds like,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that this is plan A because everyone else seems to be taking the other tack. It's only really him and Norris and a few others that I'll get to, who are trying this gambit. But it does, let's say, it does pay off. Piastri is another one doing a lot of passing. I'm sorry. Let me back up here. Lap 27, Norris making ground, getting by Sainz for 4th on the start-finish straight with DRS. Leclerc also gets Gasly for 6th with his new medium tires. And then Piastri, who pitted a couple laps before Norris, so he's kind of doing that other long stint thing. He gets Perez on lap 28 for 9th place, and then Ocon 1 lap later for 8th. So he's moving up the field. Lap 32, Norris gets by Hamilton easily with DRS on the start-finish straight for 3rd place. So that counter strategy, long first stint on the softs, does seem to be working for him. Piastri then gets by Gasly a few laps later for 7th.
Yeah.
So the big question here, though, is how well that strategy is working. So in other words, will Norris have the tire life at the end of the race to pass Verstappen?
These were much more less marginal overtakes than we're seeing earlier in the race as well. These were like strategy overtakes, like Norris had Hamilton way before they got down to the turn, and Piastri was a little bit tighter, but managed to make it stick fairly easily. He had it in.
Yeah. Next up for Norris is Russell, who's in 2nd. On lap 35, Norris closes up with DRS on the start-finish straight. Russell closes the door by moving to the inside like he did before. Norris, though, bides his time and does a cutback after turn 2 to make a run on Russell around the outside of that long turn 3. Russell, though, sticks with him, and Norris has to defend into turn 4, and then Russell does the same cutback maneuver, pulls alongside Norris around the outside of turn 4, giving himself the inside for turn 5 and pulling back ahead. But that is only momentary because Norris comes back on the inside of the next turn, dipping onto the grass and outbraking Russell to seal 2nd place. Yeah. This, I thought, was a fantastic battle.
Yeah, this was just a great sequence the entire way through, almost half the lap, just the two of them toe for toe. I don't want to sound overly critical of Russell, especially as I think his part in the middle part of this sequence, when he managed to get him back on, that you guys were talking about it. Turn 3 on this track is really tricky, and trying to gain any momentum off the line on it is even trickier, and he really hung it out there and managed to get him on turn 4. I just think, again, that the defensive move he does on the end of the start-finish straight just completely puts him in an awful position to get traction out of turn 2. And it was, Norris wasn't going to throw it up the inside there. It seemed too rash, too early to defend up the inside again. Norris couldn't get around him on the outside this time because it was much later, but it just put him in a horrid position. Like, you shouldn't be getting overtaken on turn 2 on this track. Like, if, unless you've been pushed, unless it's the Sainz-Hamilton situation where you've both gone into the apex. Honestly, again, I'm not an F1 driver, so I always feel like a weird when I'm armchair quarterbacking an incredibly technical sport. This is one that I hope Julian Palmer looks at, because to me, it shows like a sort of a, I don't know, it's one little weakness in his game a little bit, I feel like, is defending. Because oftentimes they're in a car that doesn't need to defend, either because the Red Bull's so far ahead or because everyone else is so far back.
It looks like the tire difference. So this is right at the end. So Russell then pits shortly thereafter from his medium tires, who did 21 laps. And at the time, Norris's medium tires were 8 laps newer. So he did have the tire advantage. But yeah, fantastic battle. Russell's woes continue later in the race, because on lap 52, he's out on now old hard tires, which is his 3rd set. while Hamilton behind him is on some newer softs. Hamilton then gets around Russell without too much fuss at turn 1 with DRS, retaking the third place that he had at the start. Contrast this with the Ferrari cars, who clearly swap positions because Leclerc is also on newer soft tires to Sainz's older hard tires. Leclerc taking 5th from Sainz.
In the effort of trying to be consistent about talking about this, Russell once again dives down the inside on this with Hamilton, and Hamilton's on fresh softs and just goes, okay, and overtakes him around the outside. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a trick I don't know about, but it just, every time I saw it, I was like, oh, okay.
Lap 59, Albon has a trip into the gravel after a snap of oversteer. Pretty frustrated over the radio, saying like why did that happen? His engineer says, looks all okay from our side. Albon says, no, it's not okay. Don't just say that within 5 seconds. But after the circuit, he says, I was tire saving through turn 4, so it was a bit odd. I wanted an answer because I know what the limit of the car is, and that wasn't the limit. Afterwards, we realized it was a big gust of wind, but obviously in the moment, we didn't really know it. So every time I went through turn 4 after that, I was a little bit extra cautious.
Yes, as you guys rightfully pointed out last week, because of the aero sort of nature of this track, wind can cause more trouble here than some other tracks.
Mm-hmm. In the end, though, Norris does not quite have enough pace to catch Verstappen with that tire delta, perhaps owing to that battle with Russell. But he does get within about 2 seconds, up from 11 seconds when he last came out of the pits, was the gap between him and Verstappen. So a valiant effort. Leclerc also was unable to pass Russell, though he only finished 4/10 behind. But the result for the Spanish Grand Prix looks like this. Max Verstappen on top, Lando Norris in second, Lewis Hamilton, his first podium of the year. Then we've got George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Sergio Perez, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon rounding out the top 10, and then Nico Hülkenberg, Fernando Alonso, Zhou Guanyu, Lance Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo in 15th, then Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, Alex Albon, Yuki Tsunoda, and Logan Sargent. No retirements.
Yeah, all made it around. Ricciardo, obviously 15, not great, but he did better than his teammate this time around. But again, he's not pulling out the victories he kind of needs to make heads move for him. Perez again behind Piastri. At least he bet the 2 Alpines.
Yeah, he did start in 11th, but it's like saying, well, look at how many overtakes he did. Yeah, but he started in 11th. So, yeah, whatever. He's got a 2-year contract. But that's it for the race recap. We are going to take a break, and then we'll be right back with the news. All right, Danny, the news.
The news.
Was this on your bingo card?
It really wasn't. This is one of those, like, sometimes when they have TV shows and they do a sort of a what if, where they like sort of like change history or just do something. Hey, here's a crazy concept. What if we brought Fabio Briatore back into F1? What if we
back into Formula One, Danny? What do you mean?
I guess he never left. He's been around for a while. In like weird, he's been helping F1, I think, in the background a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, he's been around. So I guess how do we ratchet this back? So Briatore was the sort of head honcho of Benetton back in the 90s, which then turned into Renault in the aughts, and he is fairly responsible for a decent amount of their success during this period. The reason why he is a controversial figure is because of the Crashgate controversy that happened at the Singapore Grand Prix in 2007, which we've talked about a couple times in this podcast. Nelson Piquet Jr. basically binned his car into a wall to ensure that Fernando Alonso would bring home a win, basically causing a safety car and making sure that Alonso, who was in first position at that time in the race, would be able to bring it in, because they were also in a title deciding or title battle during that year. The subsequent investigation and court case we've sort of talked about as well with regard to Felipe Massa's lawyers wanting him to get retroactively given the championship for because Eccleston and other folks perhaps knew what was going on, but the court case that did happened a year later, and as a result of that, Fabio Briatore was basically given a lifetime ban. Pat Simmons, who was part of that, was also given a 5-year ban, and Nelson Piquet Jr. was also given some sort of ban. Subsequently, Briatore's conviction was thrown out by a French court for like a number of reasons. One of them was that how is he supposed to work? I guess was an argument. You're stopping him from being able to provide for himself. There was a witness statement that was not. I think the person's identity wasn't disclosed as part of it. There was a couple of other issues that they had with regard to just the way in which evidence was presented. And then weirdly, I didn't know about this at all. Apparently, there was a quote from within the FIA, or there was a quote that the conviction was contrived, which was supplied by a member of the FIA to a newspaper. The member in question was actually Mohammed bin Salem. So,
oh my God.
It turns out he's been kind of doing this shit for a long time. It's just we didn't really know about it.
Wow.
So he has been sort of out of it. Like Pat Simmons did work in F1 for years after that. He worked at Williams. He worked for F1 for a while as well. But he didn't go back to the team that he did the thing at. So that's what's kind of wild about this, is that it's not like he's joined any team. It's been a while. But the fact that he's going back to Renault, which is owned by the same person, I think they sold 20% of their. Then they sell to some American consortium last year, but the
Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, all that stuff. But the current owner of Renault is the same guy, or the current
France. Is it France?
Yeah, France. No, I forget the gentleman's name. The guy who basically is the CEO at the moment. So Bruno Firmin has been asked about this, obviously, because he's
the current team principal.
Yes, he is the point person for this. And he says that he doesn't mind Briatore's F1 past and controversies. He was pushed on this a little bit and basically went on to say something of the like of he is another part that is adding to the powerhouse of the team. The actual job that he's been given is a sort of a top level strategic one, and this is where the conspiracies come in a little bit. So he is apparently going to be sort of directly responsible for top level strategy stuff, which includes engine manufacturing, which includes the driver acquisition stuff as well. And a lot of this is pushing the idea that you guys sort of talked about last week, that they might be strategically putting Alpine in a position to sell. That currently they have their two sort of main organizational headquarters. They have one in France, which deals with the engine manufacturing. They have the F1 team that's based in the UK. That perhaps, as you and Rob were talking about last week, the whole idea that they are an engine supplier, but might try and put themselves in a position where they are going to force Mercedes or someone else to provide them with an engine, and that might be perhaps also with this consortium buying them last year or getting a 20% cut of the company. This might be them positioning themselves for a sale. Who would buy Alpine? You could ask. Obviously, there is a certain American team who are desperately trying to get into the sport. Apparently, they have said that they're not necessarily interested in buying Alpine. I don't know why that
Andretti?
would be the case. Sorry, yeah, Andretti. If it's the only seat that's available at the table, then
because headquarters in France, Danny.
If they get rid of the engine stuff, then essentially the headquarters is in England. It's not
Wherever
that dissimilar to like
that's
Red
true.
Bull, right? Where their sort of organizational headquarters is in Austria, but the F1 team is largely run out of a base close to Silverstone. Yeah. So it's an interesting. It's a weird thing because this guy is basically like just completely soiled goods. Like, I guess Pat Simmons was able to forge a career after the case. I don't think Prerace has ever like taken responsibility for it. You know, he sort of was of the mindset that like, oh, I was in charge of the team, but I didn't really know what was that was going on, which seems like total nonsense. Yeah, he's that kind of character as well. It's been a while since I've seen an interview with him, but he was always sort of, you know, very overly defensive of his position and his victimhood. But yeah, Renault, man, they don't know what they're doing over there, and it's just you know, we have the receipts basically from the past couple of years, everything about just the team and the drivers they picked and this ridiculous rebrand, and it just seems like they don't know their heads from their arses, and I cannot imagine that they're hiring this guy unless there's a very specific reason why they're doing it. And if he's able to do that type of organizational stuff from the top, maybe that's it. I guess time will tell.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for hiring me. Picture this. A driver crashes intentionally. What do you think?
So every time one of those Alpines crashes for the rest of the season, there's going to be like, it's just right there.
And it's fortuitous in some way.
100%. Like, it's just going to, like, they better hope those guys stay out of the walls in Singapore, because it's just going to, the cameras are just going to be pointed at him if he's at the races. I doubt he'll be at the races. God, what if he turns up at the races?
Well, so I'm sorry. The overturning of his conviction in France, does that mean is that what it has now enabled him to work in Formula 1
Oh no, this
again?
was a long time ago. So he had that turned over. I think it was
right.
I think
But that's why there's nothing barring him from
No, there's nothing barring
right
him.
now.
Pat Simmons Simmons, to my understanding, served his 5 years. I think at the time Briatore said that he wouldn't come back until the like 2012, 2013 season, and then he didn't really materialize, but I've subsequently heard that he had done work for the F1, consulting work or something in the years in between. But no, there's been nothing stopping him from coming back to any team, I believe, for like over a decade. And it's a long time. Like, he's also largely been out of the day-to-day of this sport, or at least at a team level, for like, you know, for 15 years, 16 years or something. So,
whoa, you guys got batteries in these cars.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
He's not a spring chicken either, but then F1 has never had a problem in making sure that rich old men run the sport. So I guess there's nothing particularly surprising there.
Speaking of, Danny, Adrian Newey.
Yeah.
He was Red Bull's aerodynamics car designer, genius extraordinaire.
Genius extraordinaire. Stick it on a business card.
He is leaving the team due to a rift with team principal Christian Horner over the allegations that Horner had an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. Of course, every team now wants him. Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Williams. But the one that has been the most vocal about it is Aston Martin. And now Autosport is reporting that Newey was invited to take a secret tour of the Aston Martin factory. They even say in the article, apparently everyone was told to leave the building.
Wow.
In order to preserve the secrecy, but maybe a little Streisand effect there.
Yeah, just a bit. Clearly it wasn't that secret. They're reporting it in autosport.com.
Right. So the team has ramped up their courtship of him. The article points out that Newey has stated in the past that he has regretted not working with Fernando Alonso and also Lewis Hamilton. So, you know, that's Aston Martin and Ferrari right there. Although it does seem that Aston Martin is hedging their bets and also courting Enrico Cardile, who is Ferrari's current head of chassis and aerodynamic development. Wow. So they are just throwing money at trying to become a good Formula One team.
Yeah, the aerodynamics are going to make a big difference with the new regulations as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, Newey, just talking about the age thing again, he has already said that he's not, perhaps all that interested in being sort of day to day. And I think you can imagine a situation where, moving to Italy or doing a lot of traveling down there mightn't be exactly what he wants to do. Aston Martin is much less of a stressor on his, personal life. And I think when folks get older, that becomes more of an important thing for them. Especially if they're able to provide him with other avenues as well. Like he's talked about how he wants to work on different types of cars and different projects. Aston Martin, is a prestige car brand. It mightn't be prestige
that he's worked with before.
Brand.
I think the Valkyrie that he designed, isn't that an Aston Martin car?
Don't know. Do you know what the engine of my airplane coming back? Oh no, it wasn't Aston. Sorry, it was a Rolls Royce.
Rolls Royce, yeah.
Sorry. For a second, I got my British classic car brands mixed up, but I couldn't believe that it was a Rolls Royce badge on the outside of the engine. I was like, oh, yeah, cool. James Bond.
The article also points out that Aston Martin currently employs Dan Fallows, who worked with Newey at Red Bull as a technical director. So would be a little bit of getting the band back together.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We will also see where the chips land on the driver market. I guess not really updates here, but Autosport does have a good rundown of the current state of things.
Yeah, where are we at?
And we do believe that Sainz, who Magnussen has called the cork in the bottle, is going to make a decision here shortly. I thought this article was interesting mostly for his quotes about that decision. He says, it's almost impossible to predict who is going to be performing in 2026. And so then 2025 becomes also important. At that stage, if I cannot predict 26 and I don't know who's going to be performing better, then 25 is important for me to know. And it is also the long term. They really should have edited, or I should have edited this quote.
Just say it in a Spanish accent and then it's fine,
It's also trying to understand the power unit side. It's trying to understand the team dynamics. All these factors come into play when taking a decision. And yeah, that's why it's taking so long, and it's taking time for me to find some time within myself to take the decision. So I thought that was interesting, hearing what matters, what he's actually weighing here. It's not just like the paycheck, right? It's not just the prestige. It's power unit. It's team, culture fit.
Yeah, it's a really impossible time to be doing this because it's such a shot in the dark. And obviously his hand has been forced. I was wondering actually last week if there was any, because I know we did a rundown of like how many drivers are out of contract by the end of this year. Mm-hmm. I wonder if somebody like a Sainz, and I could be out of step here because perhaps this has already sort of been dealt with people getting extensions, but I was wondering if somebody like Sainz would be able to negotiate a 1-year contract with a new team.
Interesting.
It would probably, I imagine it would be incredibly difficult because teams don't want to, put all that time, effort and money into getting somebody and then not have them part of the project. And obviously our Aston Martin feels like one of those teams that's trying to establish a longer term partnership with somebody to really, get some success in the next couple of years. But yeah, he's in an impossible spot. And as we've seen with folks like Daniel Ricciardo, you can end up with the wrong team at the wrong time. Folks like George Russell, you can end up with the right team just slightly too late. Or folks like Lando Norris, you can stick around and trust the process and the rewards will come to you. You might as well be looking into a crystal ball at this stage when it comes to this stuff. And the drivers know that too. Fernando Alonso is another example of somebody who has jumped around trying to make sure he landed on the right branch and just hasn't managed to do it since his championship winning year. For us as fans, I think, though, it hopefully brings some interesting results. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and just to run down, whose contracts are up at the end of this year. We've got Zhou and Bottas, both at Sauber, and we know Hülkenberg is going there. So one of those guys is going to have to go. Ricardo is he only had a 1-year extension with RB. Gasly at Alpine his contract is up, and Ocon is like leaving the team.
Yeah.
So they don't have anyone confirmed yet. The Haas has a vacant seat after Hulkenberg left, and Magnussen also is not confirmed yet because his extension runs out at the end of this year. And then Sargent, but it sounds like everyone expects Sargent to not be here next year.
Yeah, I think his trip out into the gravel and in qualifying didn't, it's just another nail in a coffin that is just full of nails right now.
Right. So who's going to be at Audi? So Autosport again has some conjecture here. In the running, there are a number of drivers. Basically, everyone's Sainz, Bottas, Gasly, Ocon, and Liam Lawson, who will be a free agent. The article states if he doesn't get promoted to an RB seat instead of Ricardo. So that's another kind of cork in the bottle. There is Ricardo at Haas. Again, Magnussen's not confirmed. It could be Ocon. There's a lot of ties there. And Oliver Behrman has been practicing with the team. I think this weekend even was maybe his third time practicing with the team. And as for Alpine, one would think they would want to re-sign Pierre Gasly for some stability, but they've also been linked to Zhou, who is a former Alpine Academy driver, and Formula 2 driver Jack Doohan, who is managed by, Danny, drumroll please, Flavio Briatore.
You're kidding me. Okay, so that's what he's been doing as well. He's like, when I say crash, okay? And this little musical chairs act as well has to make space for Kimi Antonelli as well. When we're wondering,
it's true.
How many seats are available, especially with that new verdict.
Of course, I forgot to mention Mercedes has an open slot because Hamilton's going to Ferrari.
Do they?
Danny, who else is in the running?
Our good friend Mick Schumacher is going to test with Alpine, rather surprisingly, as the team tries to figure out their Ocon replacement. Obviously, we've talked about Carlos Sainz. He is somebody who they are also trying to court. I suspect he's they're lower on his list. I don't know.
I saw somebody saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
That there's some quote saying Schumacher is better than half the grid. I'm going to try
who said this? Random Redditor?
I'm going to try to figure that out.
Was he talking about Michael Schumacher? Multiple world champion and one of the best to ever do it.
Listen, he was in a Haas, okay?
It's fair. He did crash a lot though, and Gene doesn't like that. So Mick Schumacher is going to test with Alpine F1 next week as the team continues to consider its options for the 2025 driver lineup, reported by Autosport.com. We got a great quote from our new best friend Flavio Briatore to Canal Plus.
He's said, really back, isn't he?
He's in. He's already talking to Canal Plus, enjoying it, saying, maybe we'll put a young driver next to him, or even an older one. So there you go. Really covered. But middle-aged, probably not. I'm gonna go vintage or fresh at the gate. Schumacher, who lost his Haas seat after 2023, is now a Mercedes reserve and will have an opportunity to show his potential as a candidate on the 3rd of July when he will complete a test day in an A522 from the 2022 season at Circuit Paul Ricard, everyone's favorite circuit. Schumacher has in his side the fact that he is actually part of Renault's hypercar and world endurance efforts. So he's in the team, even if he is a Mercedes test driver at the moment. So who knows? I think a lot of us, similar to Ocon when he lost his seat, a lot of us thought that there was a bit more from Mick, that the pressures of the sport and the fact that he was just simply in a car that would often lose its rear end was tricky. There's obviously a lot of love for him because of his family's history in the sport, and definitely also because of the tragic accident that befell his father before he saw his son in a Formula One car. I would really like to see Mick get another shake. I would like to see Mick get another shake ahead of like Daniel Ricciardo. I think I think there are people. I think there are drivers who have. I think there is a world in which Danny Ricciardo becomes like a Nico Hülkenberg, maybe like an Alonso. I don't know, somebody who's a solid hand at a team and does really, sort of. I don't know, is a good number one driver to have at a mid to low range team. I think Alonso could win a championship in a car. I don't know if I trust that Danny Ricciardo would. But I'd like, when I see fellas like Ricciardo get chance after chance, and even like you see, Alexander Albon has had a great couple of years when people said he was all washed up, and a lot of it was down to pressure. And it's the same criticism people level against Mick Schumacher. I'd like to see him get another roll of the dice, even just 1 year. I think it'd be cool.
I found the quote.
Okay.
Former Ferrari team principal and FIA president Jean Todt.
Okay, Jean Todt
says, of course, he had a few accidents, some of which were his own fault. He's saying this to Motorsport Total. However, he added, quote, Mick is better than half of the Formula One drivers.
Wow.
Mick has what it takes for Formula One without question. Otherwise, he would not have won Formula 3 and Formula 2. So
there you go. In some ways, Formula 3 and 2 are more than one. One's only one. 3 and 2 are, those up there 5.
That's true. It's bigger than one.
Math.
Well, speaking of people deserving of seats, Danny.
Yes. I love having any excuse to talk about Nikita Mazepin in the year of our Lord 2024. So was it 2 weeks ago we talked about this? Earl Cali came out and said, we have won our compensation claim against Haas for destroying our contract and kicking us out of the sport because of the illegal invasion of the Ukraine. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to reset. Eurocali was Haas's sponsor. It's a Russian petrochemical firm.
Yeah,
I think, and
like fertilizer or something. I don't know.
Yes, and it just so happens. Oh, my son is a race car driver. Could you put him in the seat? So that kind of situation. Then Russia invaded Ukraine, and everybody dropped Russian sponsors like they were hot. And Eurocali's like, wait a minute, we had a contract, and now we have some rulings.
Yes. And then Eurocali came out and said, we won. They said, they issued a press release claiming that a tribunal had found that Haas was in violation of the contract and is obliged the team pay compensation to Uralkali. And this is them saying, like, we won our court battle. And then it came out, according to racefans.net, that Haas denied both of Uralkali's claims. It said that the panel found that they had just cause to break off their arrangement with the Russian company following the country's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. Haas quoted the panel's ruling that, and I quote, could not be expected to continue the sponsorship agreement under such circumstances. Haas said that the tribunal ordered it to retain the sponsorship fee prior to the cancellation of the contract and refund the remainder to Uralkali. So they basically just gave them the balance of when they cancelled the contract. Mm-hmm. And Uralkali was out there going, we won the case. No, that's actually not what happened at all. Haas have had to get out there and clear the air. So yeah, just another chapter in the, quite frankly, fantastic book of Haas sponsorship woes, which is, I just can't wait.
They're the rich energy people.
I know.
Who could forget?
What's next? What's next for those? There's like the Office style TV show that exists within the Haas advertising.
It's called Drive to Survive, starring Gunther Steiner.
But they need to have the sort of the Office drama version of whoever is the person who's like, guys, I got it. There's this guy who's got this energy drink. And he's like, season 3, he's like, okay, I gotta get a new signature. Okay, how about this?
All right.
There's this
that
Russian
guy didn't work
guy.
out.
Yeah.
He's good friends with Vladimir Putin.
Oligarchs. How do we feel about oligarchs? Good? Cool. Got this kid. He's got white hair.
Österreich, not oligarch, Danny.
Oh, yes.
Österreich ring.
Yes, not an oligarch ring. We're at the Österreich ring. Or at least that's what it was called several names ago. Österreich ring just meant Austria ring, as we as we know from our beautiful friend Jason A. Stryker.
That's right.
Whose name I believe means Jason Austrian man or something. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Shout
The
out
Austrian.
to Jason. Yeah, the Austric ring. We're back. I mean, we've been back now for 10 years. It's just the 10. I think this might be the 10th year since we came back here. 2014 is when we came back. So this track was built in 69. We got our first race here in 1970. When it was called the Austric ring. It was kind of outside. It was not a great track. It was kind of outside of some of the F1 limits. So they had a former driver, a guy called Herman Tilke, come in and reshape the track in 1995. This was the first track that Herman Tilke ever worked on, and then would go on to have a 3-decade-long career, not just reformatting, reshaping, updating some tracks, but building many of the F1 tracks that we are currently not building. You personally build them, but designing many of the tracks that we enjoy today. It was then out of F1 from, I think it was around 2002 or something like that, and it came back in 2014 after an 11-year break. It is now the head of Red Bull, or it's where Red Bull is does all their testing and stuff like that. They have owned the track for a while, and it is now called the Red Bull Ring. It's 71 laps long. It's not very, it's long, it's not very long. 4.3 kilometers, 2.7 miles makes it one of the shortest tracks in the F1 calendar. It's also one of the tracks with the smallest amount of turns. There's only 10 turns on this track. So you look at a place like Monaco, it's a very small track. It's got these amount of turns considering how small it is.
I should be racing this in F1 video games.
Yes, this is the go-kart track.
Like this and Monza. I feel like that's the number of turns I can remember.
You're right. Yes, they're very. It's easy enough to do it. While Monza is quite flat, this one's pretty hilly though. It's incredibly picturesque.
It is, yeah.
It's gorgeous landscape, and you can really get a sense of the speed here. Drew, I listened to last week's podcast, and I really enjoyed your historical breakdown of some of the classic moments that we had in Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. So I decided to do the same you inspired me for the A1 ring or Austric ring or Red Bull ring, depending on when these things happened. The first one was Jochen Rindt's last race, actually, in 1970. He obviously passed away at the next race and ended up becoming the first posthumous world champion. So that was the case in 1970, the first ever race that was at the Austric ring at the time. There was a ridiculous race in 1978 where it rained so much and so many cars went off that they started dragging mud onto the track, then creating even more cars crashing. Around the 8th lap, it was stopped because there was just simply so many crashes on the 7th lap. In the end, 9 cars finished the race in 1978.
Wait, 9 cars finished after 8 laps?
Oh, no, sorry. 9 cars finished at the end. There was more. They did restart the race after 8 laps. Sorry.
All right.
And then there was more cars that crashed out.
Still, that's crazy.
It would not be the last time there was crazy crashes at this course, though. There's one particularly famous one we'll talk about in a second. 1984, Niki Lauda won here. Won his home race in Austria, which was a pretty big deal for him. Obviously, some famous Austrian racers throughout the years, but Niki Lauda is perhaps the most famous of them all. In 1987, there was a ridiculous crash at the start. This is one of the more famous clips, I think. Martin Brundle was involved in it. There was a big sort of just somebody didn't start properly. Someone else, there was multiple crashes. It was a complete disaster. It happened on the same race weekend that one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen. When Stefan Johansson managed to nuke a deer during practice. A deer got confused with all of the loud car noises and ran across the track. I don't think there's video footage of this, but there's some really gnarly photographs of just a grown ass animal getting just explosioned in this.
I will not be linking that in the show notes.
Thankfully he was fine. The car had suspension damage, but he was okay. Because I mean, like, you're in a road car and you hit a deer, you're in you're in trouble. It's just the way they they're the whole
It's a 100-pound thing just
sitting on legs
coming at your head.
Yeah, just like it's like a table with a car engine sitting on the top of it. You don't want to hit that thing, especially not in an F1 car. So thankfully he was okay. And then the last one I have here is in 2002. This was the scene of the infamous Rubens Barrichello letting Michael Schumacher overtake him for the race win to try and secure the Drivers' Championship. This was very famous because especially the... I think it was something like, Rubens let Michael pass for the championship or something. There was some quote, but after, the thing I always remember is the two of them on the podium.
Oh,
when Schumacher
so cringy.
Basically, like, gives him the top spot, and Barrichello's like doesn't really want it, and the crowd is booing, and it's
oh my god!
And this was it's bad, and it was so embarrassing for F1 that it was basically I don't even want to call it the straw that broke the camel's back. It was basically the reason why they outlawed team orders for like a decade, because they were like, this sucks. Nobody likes this. Nobody liked it. Ferrari fans didn't like it. Schumacher fans, I don't think, liked it. Schumacher didn't like it, but it was what it was. So we've had a lot of mad stuff here, including last year. Thanks for adding this, Drew. When there was 83 track limit violations last year on this track. So they have decided to fix up two of the turns where a lot of these happened. The penultimate and ultimate turn of the track. Turn 9, which is known as Rindt. It's named after Jochen Rindt. And turn 10, which I think is called Red Bull Mobile. I saw a track map earlier today and I was like, is that what they really call that? I don't know. Red Bull Mobile?
No human calls it that.
Yeah, that's very silly. They have decided to put gravel traps on the outside of both of those to punish people from going out wide. They're taken pretty fast. Like I think 9 is taken full hit tilt, and I think 10, because there's a little camber change, you brake slightly before it and then power through it. So they don't want people using the edges there. They wanted to punish them a little bit. So look out for Logan Sargent accidentally drifting into it before his qualifying lap ends. No, I don't want to be mean to Logan, but hopefully he won't. And hopefully other people will stop using it to, gain. This isn't NASCAR, folks. You got to stay within the lines. You can't just make up your own circuits.
All right, let's get to the weather.
Ooh.
This is a sprint weekend, Danny.
Oh, it is.
Caution, sprint weekend. Stay tuned for the. I've already queued the post where we tell you when all the times are and channels.
Dear Lord,
I check multiple times. Sprint always is confusing. So Friday is the sprint qualifying, and we're looking at quite warm, 79 degrees or 26 Celsius. At sprint qualifying time, 24% chance of precipitation.
I love it, and it's in the mountains, folks. So
it is.
I can jump up and down or jump. Yeah, you never know. Little pockets of relief rain and stuff like that.
Yeah, only light wind. The sprint and then race qualifying, warmer temperatures, 83 Fahrenheit or 28 Celsius.
That's quite high.
Much lower percent chance of precipitation, looking like 3 to 5%.
So I was in Europe last week, and they were talking about a heat wave coming on Monday and Tuesday, and I know it's that's the case right now there, but I didn't know when it was ending because I was getting out of Dodge. So I wonder, because that's like, it gets hot in certain parts of Europe, but I don't think it gets up to like 28 in the end of June in the mountains in Austria. I think that this might be, I don't know, this could be an issue. It might be warmer than they're used to running here.
Yeah, and can you, while I'm doing this, look up the elevation there?
Yeah, sure.
That might have an impact on things like engine aspiration. It's going to be warm again for the race, 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Again, light wind, but precipitation 50%. Danny, 50%
on race day.
On race day.
You know what? I hope this is. I was filming some stuff in southern France and last week, and it was one of those. When you get like it's a 50% chance of rain, but it's like it's a 50% chance of rain all day. So you're like, what that means is it's going to rain. It's just going to come and go. That's what I hope that means. That it's not like there's a 50% chance it's going to rain for the whole race, but it's like we're going to get some pockets of rain.
It looks 50% from about 2 p.m. to the end of the day.
Okay. That's
local time. And the race happens at 3 p.m. local.
Okay. Oh, it's at 677 meters for our European friends. It's about 2,224 feet.
Okay,
so
it's not
crazy high, but it's up
not
there.
nothing, but it's not very high.
Yeah, it's like Lake Tahoe. What's Tahoe at? Is that like 4,000?
6,500.
Is it up that high?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize
there.
that. Nuts. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Enough to make you go for a run and feel like you're dead.
I remember I went to the first time I ever noticed that I was snowboarding in Andorra, you know, that like micro state between France and Spain and the Pyrenees. And we went to like the first night there, we went to they had one big building that was their sports building, right? Because it snows there and stuff. So it's all inside and they had like tennis courts and all this stuff. And they had a pool and I jumped in the pool and I came up after like 3 paces. It was like, what's going on? Did I forget how to swim? And we were like, oh no, that's just welcome to this is why MMA fighters all train in Denver, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, heading into the Austria round, we have hometown hero. Nope, sorry. He's from the Netherlands. Got confused by Red Bull. Anyway.
He has a stand there.
That's there's going to be a lot of orange.
There will, yeah.
Max Verstappen is on top of the driver's standings with 219 points. Lando Norris now in second with 150. Charles Leclerc, 148.
Nice. Good job, Lando. How about that?
Yeah, that's a tight battle. Carlos Sainz is coming up in fourth with 116. Sergio Perez, the other Red Bull, in fifth with 111. Oscar Piastri is in sixth with 87. George Russell in seventh with 81. And Lewis Hamilton in eighth with 70. Fernando Alonso is in ninth with 41. And then a big gap down to Yuki Tsunoda in 10th with 19. Stroll has 17. Ricciardo has 9. Nico Hülkenberg and Oliver Behrman both have 6 points. Pierre Gasly is in 15th place with 5 points. Then we got Ocon with 3, Albon with 2, Magnussen with 1, and then Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas, and Logan Sargent with 0. In the constructor standings, Red Bull Racing is on top with 330 points. Ferrari is in second with 270. You know, that's big, but it's not as big as I was expecting. How many more races do we have?
A lot, I think. We're less than halfway.
We're almost. Britain will be halfway. Britain will be 12 of 24.
Okay.
Austria is 11 of 24.
Okay.
Anything could happen. Mercedes is actually in third with 237. I'm sorry, that's McLaren Mercedes.
All right,
Mercedes is in fourth with 151. Aston Martin's in fifth with 58. RB is in sixth with 28. Alpine has 8. Gene Haas and team have 7. Williams has 2. And Sauber still with 0.
Lando Norris has 1 point less than all of Mercedes, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
He scores 10 more points this weekend. He'll be higher than his... That's a random statistic I'm pulling out. He's doing really well. Let's just say that. The highest he's ever finished is 6th in a championship. So this is a real massive year for him. In his 6th year, this is his 6th year in F1. He's only 24 years old. It's wild.
Wow. That is wild. Yeah. Also doing well, people on our fantasy league who gave the double points to Lando Norris. We've got the podium here. If you want to join the fantasy league, you can use the link in the show notes. The podium for the Spanish Grand Prix. In third place, Visa Cash App Arby's.
Beautiful.
Number 2, Wolf with 2 Fs in Merc Clothing.
Nice.
And number 1, Papaya Inside Ya.
Whoa, excuse me. Not without my consent. Thank you. Okay, you can do it.
I prefer the dried papaya in trail mix.
Oh, yeah. Is that what that is? Is that what that thing is?
Yeah, the orange thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Overall, though, we have an overall podium here. Got a lot of people moving up. Moving up to third place is Will Kick the Bulls AMG.
I see what you did there.
Second place is Hosterclass in Motion.
Hosterclass.
Hosterclass.
Yes. Yeah, that's how we used to in Ireland. We say if you wanted to be posh, you said instead of saying yes, you say ears. Yes.
And then number 1, Arby's. We have the meats.
Beautiful. Oh, where's Obi gone? You Joby gone? I miss you, bro. Come back.
Yeah, really, really tumbled down the order. I'm sure he'll be back. You can also send us an email, shiftf1podcast@gmail.com or f1.cool/emails. You can also hit us up on the socials using the link in the show notes.
If you want.
And that is us around the internet. Shall we take it around the world, Denny?
Let's race around the world. Yeah.
The World Rally Championship is in Poland this weekend for the Orlen 80th Rally Poland.
Good stuff. Get your energy drinks with certain drivers' faces on them.
Yeah, or Mike Tyson.
Or Mike Tyson, yeah.
Last time.
Yes. Do you remember what that drink was called, Drew?
I sure do.
Yep.
Black Energy.
There you go. Get it. Mike Tyson official.
We've got the Craftsman trucks at the Nashville Super Speedway in Nashville, Tennessee for the Rackley Roofing 200.
Wow. They must make a killing doing roofs to be able to sponsor a race. That's wild.
I know. I love it when it just sounds like it's a local business.
Yeah. Rackley's Roofing.
Yeah. Let's see. MotoGP is in TT Circuit Austin's this weekend.
I love Austin.
We've also got Formula E in Portland for the 2 E-Prix this weekend.
Portland, Maine. Portland, Oregon.
Portland OR.
Really?
Portland International Raceway.
Did you say Formula? Was that Formula E?
Formula E.
Man, we should.
Stateside.
That's not far. Like you could drive to Portland like 6 hours. You go to Portland.
Yeah.
Go to Formula E in Portland. I didn't know that was on. I guess I won't go this weekend because but maybe I will.
You're on NASCAR out.
I will.
You got that trailer.
Yeah.
Formula 2 and Formula 3 will be supporting Formula 1 in the Red Bull Ring this weekend.
Bull. Conspiracy theory, sporting Red Bull.
They're reptiles.
Oh my God.
The NASCAR Xfinity Series is also at the Nashville Super Speedway for the Tennessee Lottery 250. Motocross Grand Prix. Wow, where is this? Okay.
I'm shocked.
Well, I should have known. Whenever I can't pronounce anything, it's in Indonesia.
Malaysia? Okay, Indonesia. Okay.
Yes, yeah. for the MXGP of Sumbawa.
Wow.
In Indonesia. Yep. The NHRA is in, so I would say Norwalk.
Okay.
But it's probably Nurek or something, for the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals. And we got NASCAR.
Where are we going?
Also the Nashville Super Speedway. Everybody's there. For the
Is that
Ally.
Dollywood? Is that where we're at?
Yep. The Ally 400.
Ally. What's Ally? Be an ally.
Yep. Get insurance.
It's
from an ally.
Ally, yep.
Formula 1 also this weekend. Maybe you've heard of it. Friday, June 28th is when things kick off. Free Practice 1 is 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2, followed by Sprint qualifying at 10:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Saturday, June 29th sees the Sprint at 6 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2, followed by race qualifying at 10 a.m. also on ESPN2. But the race, everyone, Sunday, June 30th at 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Main channel.
That's right.
That's what they call it. Wonder if we'll see any pictures of Christian Horner next to the other side of the Red Bull political garage. I wonder if there's going to be some uncomfortable moments this weekend as they rub shoulders. Who knows?
Well, that's what's going on this weekend. Danny, what happened this day in history?
Oh my, on the beautiful book, Formula One on this day. Let's get straight into it. July 26th, Italian driver Antonio Ascari was killed on this day in 1925, almost 100 years ago to the day, while leading the French Grand Prix in an Alfa Romeo P2 at the Autodrome de Monterrey near Paris. Ascari left behind a 7-year-old son, Alberto, who also went on to become a famous Grand Prix driver and died in mysteriously similar circumstances to his father. Oh, God damn it. This is like a fucking triple shot of misery. I'm used to these little chasers. Both died on the 26th day of the month, age 36, and both drove car number 26. Both had won 13 Grand Prix, and both died 4 days after surviving perilous accidents. They both left a wife and 2 children. It's like Ringu. It's like, anyway. When Mika Hakkinen, who I'm pretty sure is still with us, we're good, stepped down from his race seat in McLaren for a sabbatical year in 2002, many speculated as to whether he would return to racing. Today in 2002, the Flying Finn announced he would not be returning to the cockpit. He said, "I didn't want to hurt myself. I've recently read
Have you read this book
about Antonio's." Exactly. I got this book for my wife for Christmas, and it's freaked me the fuck out. Sorry, I didn't want to hurt myself. I've been through so much in my career in F1, particularly in 1995, and I did achieve so much that I thought that it's not worth it anymore to push your luck further. That's true. Mika Hakkinen had a particularly perilous incident and was basically saved on the track. So there you go. Aren't you glad the book's back, everyone? It's a fucking little monkey paw that we just keep going back to every week. Yeah, I have to keep reading them. If I don't keep reading them, then the book will come for me. That's the problem. So you all have to listen to this every week for the rest of my life. Also, now that you've all heard this, you also need to buy this book and tell your loved ones about how dangerous F1 is. Oh my God.
All right, Danny. Well, final thoughts ahead of Austria.
I remember some good races here. It's a weird track, but I remember a lot of incidents. What's your spreadsheet telling us?
My spreadsheet says last 2 years we've had entertaining races.
Okay. All right. Get rain here. It's definitely going to be fun, especially if they start dragging mud onto the track.
Yes, indeed. Well, if you'd like to support the show and get access to all of our bonus episodes, the ad-free version of the podcast, and the official Shift+F1 Discord, you can do so over at patreon.com/ShiftF1. Have a good race weekend, everyone. We will see you all next week.